said the master of the obvious. We got a great show for you this afternoon. We're a little undermanned. Teresa Goldner is enjoying the lovely temperatures of La Jolla. She'll be back with us next Tuesday. But we've got lots to talk about, lots to do on this Tuesday. We've got more information. The district attorney of Los Angeles, Nate Holtman, had a news conference along with LAPD Police Chief Jim McDougal, McDonald, and we'll break that down for you. Susie Wiles, the president's chief of staff, is making news off of a Vanity Fair interview she relented to, where she is saying some interesting things about not only the president, but his cabinet. We'll get into that. Kash Patel has stepped in it yet again. We'll unpack that for you as well. And Governor candidate Steve Hilton is making news. He is attacking SB 357, a loitering law, which makes it more difficult for police to deal with prostitution and human trafficking. I'll explain that. And a sentence has been handed down to one of the men involved with Matthew Perry's death. We'll explain that. And the Powerball, even Ralph Bailey Jr., because I always say there were two really strange things about my father. I'm sure there are more than two, but the two that always stood out to me was his love of wrestling. And I'm not talking about like the Olympics, Greco-Roman wrestling. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm talking about Muhammad the Sheik and Hulk Hogan and give me some other names, Chris. You know these
Roddy Piper.
Okay. I thought Roddy Piper was I thought he was, who am I thinking of? Well, I thought he was roller derby.
No.
I think he began. Look his bio up.
I can't at the moment. Our internet's not working.
I think Rowdy
Piper.
Yeah. What began in roller derby.
He may have done it on the side, but I'm pretty sure he was a wrestler the entire
No,
time.
but I'm saying, I think that's where his career began, and then I think he transitioned into wrestling. Am I not right about that? Wasn't there a crazy ride? I was an LA T-Bird fan growing up as a little boy. You guys remember the LA T-Birds? Ralphie Balladares, John, the big black guy that was like the blocker. Forget you people. I got that. And the Powerball is worth $1.25 billion. It's the 43rd drawing in a row with no one getting it. It's the second largest. You'll have to settle unless you take the annuity, which nobody does. But really is a smart play. But who wants to be smart when you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars? You can take the buyout for $572 million. And 5 people matched all 5 numbers, but didn't get the Powerball. Can you imagine that? I mean, it's a cool $1 million. Nobody's going to complain about that. But can you imagine looking at your ticket and you've got all 5 numbers and you just missed the Powerball? So you're basically losing $528 million. That's right. And I got some other miscellaneous news and notes to get to as well. ABC News tonight at 10 o'clock hasn't wasted any time exploiting the death of Rob Reiner, if you ask me. They're running a hour-long documentary called The Rob Reiner Story, a Hollywood Tragedy. And as we always talk about, at this juncture of an investigation, even when it is as obvious as this murder is, and I think this murder is fairly obvious, as you'll hear in just a minute. Nick went to a hotel shortly after the murder, a Santa Monica hotel, and the maids found the room full of blood. There was blood in the shower, there's blood in the sheets. I mean, it's pretty open and shut, which is another thing we're going to talk about a little bit later. And that's about it. That's about all I got. That's a show for today. Can you do a song and dance, Mr. Burdick, as we get started?
Sure. What am I trying to do here?
Oh, just
Maybe
buy
we're
me
just
some time.
putting together a
Yeah,
cup of coffee.
No, it's my tea. It's my. I caused a stir at the Starbucks
Okay. How we? I mean, how were we causing a stir here?
because I insisted on the Monster Ball,
You got it wrong.
and I said, "Well, I ordered this yesterday. Can't you ask something?" Because the girl was new.
Yeah.
So I just thought she didn't know what the Monster Ball was, and I said, "Well, can't you ask one of your people?" I had just had it yesterday. It's like green tea with honey. And she asked the guy, and he's like, Monster Ball? I don't know. He said, do you mean medicine ball? I go, my bad. Medicine ball. So excuse me if I am a little.
Well, at least they're working, though, it seems.
What's that?
Is the medicine ball not helping you through all of this?
No, I still got a bad cough.
Huh?
Yeah, that's now the third, and I'm still congested, and I didn't get a lot of sleep, and I'm not eating that well.
Are you not taking the NyQuil and DayQuil stuff?
No.
I didn't think so.
What? I'm healthy now. I mean, I'm on the
You
downside.
sound healthy.
I took all my antibiotics.
True.
You know, you got to do that. You
Yes.
know that, right? You got to, when you get prescribed antibiotics, you just don't take them until you get healthy. You got to take them till you finish the bottle. You don't take the whole thing. But no, I feel okay. It's just energy, and it's just up in here, and it's just, and I've just been coughing, and I just got a little phlegm, which I'm sure you're excited to hear about. I apologize. But we began, obviously, with the Nick Reiner situation. People are highlighting the argument that they had that we all know about. I'm sure by now you've all heard about this. They were invited to a Christmas party, excuse me, at Conan O'Brien's house. And apparently, according to witnesses and people there, Nick Reiner was acting bizarrely, running around asking people, are you famous? And then Bill Handel, is that his name, the comedian? Or Hader? I think it's Bill Hader.
Bill Hader.
Bill Hader was having a private conversation with somebody, and Nick was, kind of eavesdropping. And Hader, according to witnesses, politely said, hey, this is kind of between me and he's probably talking to his agent or his manager or maybe somebody about a deal or something. And Nick went off, and that's when Rob came over to try to intercede. And that became a huge blow up. And Nick left the party, and the DA's office, at least I inferred from their implication that they're going to try to use this as premeditated murder, because they are charging him with first-degree murder. Here is District Attorney of Los Angeles, Nate Hochman.
These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with a special circumstance of multiple murders. He also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife. These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. No decision at this point has been made with respect to the death penalty. We have requested, and currently Nick Reiner is being held without bail.
The special circumstances are important because that's what makes him eligible for the death penalty. Now, as we know, we have the death penalty, but we don't have the death penalty. Vincent Brothers, who committed a murder, 10, 12, maybe even 15 years ago, I can't even remember now, is still waiting. He's in line, and he's like 600. Scott Peterson is still on death row, and he's in the 500s and 600s. I mean, there is a line in our death. So there is no death penalty in the state of California. While there's no death penalty. But that is significant. Let's go ahead and take our first break of the day. When we come back, you'll hear more from Nate Hochman, and I'll give you some of the details that they talked about in terms of what Nick did after the alleged murder. That's written badly. because it wasn't an alleged murder. There was a murder. He's alleged to have done it. We'll talk about his path after he allegedly killed his parents, where he was arrested, and some of what else was said in the late news conference this afternoon. Then at the bottom of the hour, Teresa Golden won't be with us, but we will talk about just common decency. I once again did the Bailey mistake and went down a rabbit hole on somebody's comments on Facebook. Someone who said they posted a vile comment that Rob Reiner made about the president, saying that he's not going to Twitter anymore. He's tired of people bagging on him, so F all you MAGA people. And they used that for justification for saying, and this is almost a direct quote, I wasn't fazed when he was unalived. That's a new phrase in the 21st century. I just don't understand that. We have lost common decency in America. We really have. And I'm not going to name the person that wrote this. I'm going to read what they said and read what my reaction to it was. But I know this person. And this person is what I thought was a decent human being. And yet we are condoning what the president said, who, by the way, doubled down on his original insult of Rob Reiner and insistence that Rob Reiner died because of his Donald Trump derangement syndrome. We'll get into that as well. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on a Tuesday, right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180, KERN, where we're streaming live at kernradio.com.
News Talk.
You got Messmaker right here.
You got one?
Yeah, it's a little old though.
And that shooting at Brown University was the killer targeting a conservative leader.
And you remember Zoran Mandami? How weird is this? His transition team are intentionally misspelling their own names in documents so you can't research them and figure out who they are and what they really believe. The next Armstrong and Getty Show.
Weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
One of the highlights of this radio broadcast appears on Thursdays at 4:30. Our money man, Daniel Petrie with Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors. You all know by now what Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors are all about. You know that I've turned on staff members who are extremely happy with being a client with Daniel. And I've told you, I've been a client for almost a decade now, and it is the single most important and smartest financial move I have ever made. If you're staring at retirement late in life and you're in the fourth quarter, call Daniel, 395-9400, 395-9400. Just keep it locked. Tune in every Thursday at 4:30 when it appears on the broadcast. Daniel Petrie and the folks at Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors.
This broadcast is for informational purposes only. Does not constitute a solicitation or offer to buy or sell any security, future, option, or other financial instrument, or to offer or provide any investment advisory or other services to any person in any jurisdiction by Daniel Petrie or MPWA, DBA, Messmaker, and Petrie Wealth Advisors. Any views expressed in this broadcast by us are prepared based upon the information available to us at the time, and we are under no obligation to update our views.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code PIPE to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code PIPE for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code PIPE for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
Attention! Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers. So don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-399-7272. 800-399-7272. Again, that's 800-399-7272.
Children everywhere are making lists and checking them twice. But for Native American children, holiday wishes can look a lot different.
My holiday wish is to be warm.
Many of these boys and girls live in deep poverty and have for generations.
I wish for a yummy holiday meal.
But for the students who spend much of their year at St. Joseph's Indian School, the holidays aren't just about wishes. They're about hope for the future.
My holiday wish is to have a brighter future. And thanks to St. Joe's, it's coming true.
And at St. Joseph's, an impressive 96% of students graduate high school, putting their dreams and wishes within reach.
Happy holidays from all of us at St. Joseph's Indian School.
Learn how holiday wishes come true at stjo.org today.
You're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show. Catch me weekday morning 6 to 9 a.m. on First Look with Scott Cox, News Talk 96.1 at AM 1180 KERN.
So it started. It's official now.
I mean, we're within 10 days.
You're right. No, I'm not.
I won't be doing it every break, but
I don't mind. I don't mind if you notice anything different in the studio.
Oh, we put up the reindeer.
No, that's a.
Or is that on a reindeer?
That is a Christmas card holder that my late girlfriend, not that she's dead.
Well,
it sounded like she was dead. I met my former girlfriend.
There you go.
Lori gave me for Christmas about 10, 12 years ago.
Ah.
And I hold my all the Christmas cards I get.
Should I put you know who's up there for you?
You're so stupid. You are so stupid.
Hey, I'm just asking.
That might be one of the funniest things you've ever said to me.
He did send it to you.
Yeah, he did. But yeah, that's my Christmas spirit. That's about all I got. That's about all I got. I don't know. Better now that I got sick than next week. You know, you got to look at it like that. Meantime, here's what I got from D.A. Holkman's press conference, along with the LAPD chief. They found him. So apparently, after the murder, allegedly, the murder that Nick performed, the murder is not alleged, but obviously his involvement is alleged. He went to the Pierside Hotel in Santa Monica. Anybody familiar with that? I've never heard of it. I know of one hotel, and I can't even remember. Is it Mark? It's not Mark Twain. That's San Francisco. There's a really cool hotel. What is that really cool hotel in San Francisco with the bar at the top of the hotel? I've been there like twice. Anyway, that's where he checked in, and like I said earlier, when he checked out, the maids found blood just all throughout the hotel room, in the shower, in the bathroom, in the sheets, and oddly enough, Reiner, Nick, was arrested in Exposition Park. Now, I'm sure most of you are familiar with Exposition Park. That's the Coliseum. It's down there by SC, down there by the sports arena and by the new soccer stadium and the Coliseum. And I don't know if it's fair to call it the ghetto, but it's a neighborhood I wouldn't want to be caught in at night. I've told you the story. We had Rams season tickets, and the Rams never got Monday Night Football games because we were on the West Coast. And they finally got one, and it was a fight in my home to let me go, because by that time I was 16 and driving on my own, and my dad wasn't going to the game, certainly not a Monday night game. And so I was going to go. I ended up going with Skelly and Tempero, two of my best friends in high school. And my mom didn't want me to go because she didn't want me down in Exposition Park at night. And that was in the 70s. What this kid was doing down there is anybody's guess, probably trying to score. Probably. I don't even know why I didn't think of that. I just popped in my head. But that's where he was arrested. And they confirmed, in fact, that a knife was used. Here's more from DA Nate Hochman.
Once the charges get filed this afternoon, Nick Reiner will be then brought to court. He is going through medical clearance, something that everybody who gets arrested and gets held in a Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department jail goes through. Once he is medically cleared, he will be brought to court to be arraigned on these charges. At that point, he will enter a plea of guilty or not guilty.
That's the reason he was not in court today. He has not been medically cleared. It's not clear whether that is some sort of injury that he sustained, maybe in a fight with his dad. Well, I doubt if there was a fight since he cut his throat, or whether that's a mental issue. And the big news of the day in terms of Nick Reiner is that somehow, some way, he has retained Alan Jackson as his attorney. You all are familiar, if you're engaged and you've been following along in the news in the last 2 years, who Alan Jackson is. He represented Harvey Weinstein, he represented Kevin Spacey, and he represented, most recently, Karen Reed, the woman who was acquitted of killing her policeman boyfriend and is now suing those who testified against her, because it's too much to get into, but there were a group of people that I believe killed her boyfriend and tried to set her up for the murder, and she's now suing them. But he is known for winning unwinnable cases. He has a 96% acquittal rating in 85 trials. That's better than Cynthia Zimmer's prosecution rate. And that's rare when a defense attorney's winning rate is higher than the prosecution, because the prosecution has investigators, the cops, they've got everything on their side. So this guy knows what he's doing. Now, can he get him off the hook on this? I doubt it very seriously. I think the goal would be to get him off on first degree so he's not eligible for the death penalty. When we come back, we'll get into common decency in America. It's the Ralph Bailey Show. Don't go anywhere.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Authorities have released a new video timeline and a slightly clearer image of the man suspected in the Brown University shooting. They provided no indication Tuesday that they were any closer to zeroing in on his identity. Investigators have been canvassing Providence homes, yards, and dumpsters in search of videos or other clues. Saturday's campus shooting killed 2 students and wounded 9 others. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says peace proposals for U.S. officials to present to Russia could be finalized within days. He said late Monday a draft peace plan discussed in Berlin with American and European officials is very workable. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 302 points, the Nasdaq rose 54, the S&P declined 16. More details at srnnews.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
15 theft incidents at a Lowe's in Northeast Bakersfield has police looking for a serial thief.
and they believe they got the guy. No Del Campo is accused of taking items totaling $2,700 and is charged with suspicion of grand theft, retail theft, and shoplifting. In McFarland, a new police chief has been chosen by the city council. Monday, they picked Adrian Olmos, who has been the interim chief for the past few months. The council reasoned that he has 23 years' experience and is familiar with the officers and the community. The Bakersfield Polar Bear Plunge at the McMurtry Aquatic Center is New Year's Day. You're invited to plunge into the icy water and swim 25 yards, and the reward at the end is a nice cup of hot chocolate. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Ralph Bailey for Adaptive Networks. You know, a lot of IT companies try to squeeze your unique business into their cookie-cutter solutions. That's why we've teamed up with Adaptive Networks, because they know no two businesses are exactly alike, and your IT shouldn't be either. While other MSPs offer one-size-fits-all packages, Adaptive Networks takes the time to listen and understand your specific challenges, your industry requirements. They build custom technology solutions that actually fit your business, not the other way around. So whether you're a small company or a growing enterprise, Adaptive Networks adapts to you. Their customer-driven approach means you get exactly what you need. So don't settle for generic IT support. Call Adaptive Networks today and discover what truly customized technology solutions can do for your business. Adaptive Networks, because your business is unique and your IT should be as well. Visit adaptive-net.com or call 661-241-0638 today.
The best California courses cost a fortune unless you have the Central Coast Golf Card. It's the easiest, biggest savings golf gift. $125 can buy. No shipping required. Give the gift of great golf while it lasts at CentralCoastGolfCard.com.
Start your day right. First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Wednesday edition of the First Look program, we'll talk a little medicine with our friend Dr. Vip Dev. John Cox will be joining us from the Californian to administer the news quiz. I'll crush it. We'll back all of that up with state-of-the-art news and traffic and weather. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 and streaming live on the internet at kernradio.com.
First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
I'm JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
I guess you guys are right. There's got to be somebody my age who knows who I'm talking about.
I'm sure there was somebody that was in roller derby. I'm assuming it's a female wrestler, though, not a male.
No, I remember this man, Rowdy something. I guess it wasn't Piper, but y'all don't remember this? The LA T-Birds? Ralphie Baladeras? No? Am I the only one that watched T-Birds when they were a kid? 842-5376, our phone number, 842-KERN.
There's Ralphie Valadares.
That's what I just said. He was a short little Mexican that was real fast, and they would whip him around.
And I see Honey Sanchez.
Oh, you know what I'm thinking of? No, his name was Ronnie Reigns. Psycho Ronnie Reigns. That's what I'm thinking of. That's exactly what I'm thinking of. My bad. You found a Psycho Ronnie Reigns?
I'm working on that as we speak. There's a Ronnie Reigns in roller derby for sure.
That's who I'm thinking of. Did they call him Psycho?
Yep.
That's who I'm thinking of. My bad.
So for sure, roller derby, not necessarily wrestler.
Sorry.
I don't see any connection, but same difference. I mean, crazy people that crash into people for a living.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why I'm going down this rabbit hole, but I don't know. I just think it's a matter of decency. Someone posted an ugly remark that Rob Reiner, and I'm sure there are many, that he made about the president. Reiner wrote, "Until Trump goes to prison, I will no longer be posting on Twitter. I've had it with the insults and put downs. F all of you MAGA a-holes." And then someone, and I know this person, I'm not going to name them, but they said, "I remember his ugliness. This is why I had absolutely no feelings when he was unalived." That's the new sanitary term in the 21st century for dead. or murdered, unalived. And all I wrote was, aren't personal insults, no matter how ugly, vastly different than speaking ill of the dead? At least that's what we all said when Charlie Kirk was murdered. A family is grieving, and the Christian thing to do, if one hates someone who had their throat cut, would be simply to say nothing. It seems to me there's nothing lower than disparaging someone who cannot defend themselves because they're dead. And what about his children? No empathy for them? They've lost their parents and a brother in one bloody afternoon. That's what I don't understand. The decency, just the common decency that once existed in America. Meantime, I suppose everyone is following the footsteps of our president, who made remarks about Reiner yesterday, or the day before, I should say, saying that he was a struggling or fall. He criticized his career, said that he was once a star, but now he's struggling, blah, blah, blah. And the reason that he died is because he was obsessed with me. I'm giving the Reader's Digest version, but that's essentially what he said. Well, he's doubled down. Here is the leader of the free world.
Well, I wasn't a fan of his at all. He was a deranged person as far as Trump is concerned. He said he knew it was false. In fact, it's the exact opposite, that I was a friend of Russia, controlled by Russia. You know, it was the Russia hoax. He was one of the people behind it. I think he hurt himself in career-wise. So he became like a deranged person, Trump derangement syndrome. So I was not a fan of Rob Reiner at all in any way, shape, or form. I thought he was very bad for our country.
I just don't understand. I just don't understand. Why? Why? Why is this necessary? The man is dead. A family is grieving. A man had his throat cut by his troubled son, who was in and out of drug rehabs 15, 17 times, we're told. We also found out that the grown-ass man, he's older than Chris Bird. He's 32 years old. Been living in the back house of the Reiners since he was 27. And I understand I'm about to say something stupid. I realize that, I really am. Because I know it's a disease, and I know you can get well and get sick again, and then get well and get sick again. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If there's no empathy to be had, the lack of empathy is for Nick Reiner. You're 27 years old 5 years ago, and you're living in your parents' $1 million back house in Brentwood, California. Your parents are 78 years old. Mr. Reiner, has 10, 12, 15 years? By the time you're 50, you're going to inherit millions of dollars. How tough can life be? And at what point is personal responsibility to be upheld and be respected? You're living in your parents' back house till you're 32 years old? And I just don't understand how people can attack a man who had a troubled life with his child, spent millions of dollars. You know how much it must have cost them to put that boy into rehab centers 15, 16, 17 times? And then to ultimately have your throat cut in your own home by your own child? Is there no empathy for that man? No matter what his political take was, no matter how vile his texts or tweets or tweaks or whatever the hell you call it were about the president? I'm just asking, is there no common decency in the 21st century? I don't understand. And the person that wrote it responded, and I'll read it, but we got a couple of phone calls. 842-5376, 842-KERN. Who you got first?
You got Jim on the line first.
Jim, you're on the Ralph Bailey Show.
I don't really understand
why you're upset with what President Trump replied. I mean, he was asked a question, and he replied with his honest opinion. Why is that a problem?
Because he's the leader of the free world. He's the president of the United States. He should be bringing people together, not separating us. And if you were raised to speak ill of the dead, then that's who you are, and you are okay with it. That's not how Ralph and Harriet raised me. You've heard me, if you listen to the show on the regular, when I do accidentally or inadvertently speak ill of the dead, I say, my mother would smack me in the face if she heard me saying this, and I should stop it. I should knock it off. You don't have a problem speaking ill of the dead?
I don't see where he spoke ill. What he said was, I was never a fan of him.
No, I'm talking about the original. Well, first of all, we'll deal with that. But the original tweet was, he was killed because he was obsessed with me.
Yeah, that one, I haven't heard that one yet. And that does sound pretty stupid. But that's Trump. He says stuff like that, you know.
And that's okay. As the president of the United States, as other nations are looking at us, you think that's okay, that represents us well?
No, I think...
Then what's your question?
You played the one tweet. That's what I'm responding to. I did not responding to the other
Okay,
one.
you think it's okay to call a man who recently had his throat cut deranged? Would you have called the show if the day after Charlie Kirk was shot in the neck, if I had called Charlie Kirk deranged? Would you have been like, that's cool, Ralph? What's wrong with Ralph calling Charlie Kirk deranged hours after the man was shot in the neck?
Why not get upset with the reporter that asked the question?
Sir, I don't understand. You've lost me. You've absolutely lost me.
No, Trump, we all know Trump says stuff to get reaction, just as much as you do on your radio. You say stuff not about the dead. I'm not accusing you of that.
Then that separates it, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, not necessarily. I was not a big fan of Rob Reiner either. I didn't like his political aspect.
Neither was I.
Right.
But I wouldn't speak ill of him after he had his throat cut. If you find this funny, I gotta go. It's not funny. And if you think it's okay to speak ill of the dead, then we were raised differently. That's all. There's nothing wrong with that. I enjoy difference of opinion. This, not so much. But if you think it's okay for the president of the United States, as a representative of this country, to call a dead man deranged and go out of his way to speak ill of somebody who recently had his throat cut, if you think that's cool, okay. I can't change your mind.
I think the original tweet, which I've not heard, but I've heard about, was way out of line.
But deranged is okay.
I think that if you're asking just as much as the other side would say about Kirk, well, he was deranged, that's why he got killed. I think we need to be able to say what we believe, what our own opinion is. And I don't care if you're a radio host, a business owner, or the leader of the free world. That's what we stand for in this country.
Well, I thought we stood for decency, common decency. And I thought the rule was not to speak ill of the dead, particularly 24, 48 hours before they're even laid to rest. Maybe I was raised peculiarly by these crazy people, Ralph and Harriet, but I'm sorry. That's just how I was raised. And I'm glad you find it funny.
You were raised great. I'm laughing at your stance, not your stance. I just like talking to you. You're a great entertainer, and that's why we listen to you.
Thank you. All right. Thanks for the call.
So have a Merry Christmas.
You as well.
You bet. Bye-bye now.
I just don't understand, I guess. I just don't understand that it's okay because we've got freedom of speech and you should say what you want and you shouldn't have a filter and edit.
And just because Trump does this all the time, it's okay.
It's okay.
Oh, God.
Wow.
Here we are.
You got another one?
Yeah, Barbara's on the line now.
Hi, Barbara. You're on the Ralph Bailey Show.
Well, hello, and I'm going to actually refer to your childhood and your upbringing as well. I'm referring to your comments about Nick and how, he had the best of everything and all the support and rehab after rehab after rehab. And how can this be? You were raised in a household with, from what I can tell, extremely great parents. I was not. And I grew up in a household full of money. That has nothing to do with how you turn out as a human being. My brother and I could not be more different. And you don't know what someone's walked through. You don't know their struggle. Growing up in Hollywood, the son of Rob Reiner probably was not easy. It's a lot to live up to. His grandfather was famous. His father is famous. I don't know anything about his siblings. But growing up in that kind of an environment, there's no way for you to know what that feels like. There's absolutely no way for you to know what that feels like.
You're absolutely right.
I don't think it's fair to say, we had the best of everything, so this shouldn't be happening.
I don't think that's what I don't think that's what I said. And I think I prefaced it with saying I'm going to say something stupid. Did you hear me say that?
And I don't remember what you said that for, but I do remember hearing you say that. Yes, I heard that he's living in his parents' house. He's lived a life of luxury, is what I was hearing.
Pretty much.
Yeah, well, but that's true. I lived a life of luxury. My life has sucked. It doesn't make it better. It does not make it better. Rich parents do not mean they're good parents. That's number one. I can promise you that. Rich does not make you a good parent. And
it sure makes life a little easier. You're not willing to admit that?
Okay, but my father is filthy rich. He lives in Massachusetts. I talk to him every Saturday. Haven't seen him in 15 years, nor has he seen my children in 15 years. And when I ask why, he says, and this is a quote, "I don't have it in me," which means he doesn't want to. So I accept the very nice birthday checks and I accept the very nice Christmas checks because telling him to F up isn't going to change a thing and the money will stop. So I'm a single mom. I stay nice, but I'm telling you right now, money means nothing on how you are as a parent or a human being.
I agree, but it sure makes life a whole lot easier.
It makes it more expensive and it doesn't make it easier. That's my point.
I would disagree.
Okay.
I think you're right that it doesn't make you a good parent. I know a lot of rich folks that are horrendous parents, but to say that having money doesn't make your life easier is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
It's my dad's money for right now, not mine.
Yeah, but you're accepting it, aren't you? And I'm not talking about you, but doesn't that money make your life a little bit easier?
Yes, but you were talking about the inheritance. Just hang on for 10 years. You're going to inherit $50 million. There's no guarantee he was going to inherit that money. Rob Reiner could give it all to charity. Having rich parents doesn't mean you're going to be rich. It means you might be. It doesn't mean you will be.
I would put the percentage on rich children being rich behind their parents at about 85, 90%. You're right. It's not 100%. You're absolutely right.
Lucky me, I'm in the 10% with that opposite point of view. My brother spent time in foster homes and prison. So he's got it.
But you're admitting your family is still giving your checks and you're a grown woman.
Yes. Well,
so that makes life a whole lot easier. Life's a whole lot easier with those checks than it is without it, is it not?
Yes, but I would rather see my father than get the money.
Then tell him that.
I have.
Oh, okay. Well, I think we're getting off track a little bit, but I'm sorry, Barbara.
I appreciate your time.
All right, Barbara. Thanks
Thanks
for listening. I appreciate it. All right, we're way late. Let's go ahead and take a break, and we can continue this conversation. Feel free to call in, 842-5376, 842
I got two more for you.
All right, we'll get to you guys. Who you got?
Chris Orr and Cindy.
Ooh, hang on, guys. I want to talk to both of y'all. We'll do that when we come back. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on a Tuesday, right here on News Talk 96.1 AM 1180 KERN, and we stream live at KernRadio.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Coming up on the Wednesday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, we'll continue to look at the Brown University shooting. What is the situation with that investigation? And also the aftermath of the Bondi Beach terrorist attack in Australia. Plus, President Trump honing in on the economy as the year comes to a close. What is the plan for affordability in 2026 looking like? We'll talk about it on Clay.
For convertible.
842-5376, 842-KERN. I'm sorry, Chris. You know I got to take Cindy before you. Cindy, what's really going on?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. You're on the Ralph Bailey Show.
Hi, Ralph. It's me, Cindy.
Yeah, we know what's going on.
Yeah, I was listening to what you were saying about Trump and his statements about Rob Reiner. Yeah, I agree with you.
Oh, Cindy, come on now.
Because
you got to stop doing this. You're going to run me out of radio.
Yeah, I know. Well, truth is truth. For us, I mean, it's like you said, that's not who we are as Americans, okay? We are about decency, honor, integrity, and respect. So when he said those derogatory, sickening things, I mean, it's all a part of Trump's character. And those who support him in that statement, it shows their character too, or their lack of character, however you want to put it. But yeah, I was shocked and sickened and devastated because I grew up watching Archie Bunker, and you know, we watched that show all the time, Meathead, and you know, we just thought it was the funniest thing. And this guy was, I mean, we didn't know him personally, obviously, but I never heard anything bad and negative about him growing up, you know.
Well, he did. To be fair, he did go after Trump hard. He helped fund the Russia investigation. He was one of the celebrities who openly went around and said wrongly and defamatorily that Trump colluded with the Russians. Let's be fair. All I'm saying is all of the political vitriol that goes back and forth on both sides of the aisle shouldn't reduce our common decency. there are people, I'll be blunt, just to show you that I'm not holier than thou. There are people on this planet right now that if they died, I wouldn't shed a tear. I wouldn't feel anything. But I wouldn't come on my radio show and talk smack about them. That's the difference. I would simply say nothing. The old cliche, if you ain't got nothing good to say, don't say a damn thing. And why the president felt he had to go out of his way to disparage a man who just had his throat cut in his own damn home by his own damn son, I just don't understand. And I don't understand anybody who can support that.
Well, yeah, but see, you got to understand, these people are cult-minded. And so
now, come on now, Cindy. Now, come on. Come on, you're improving my ratings now because that's ridiculous. You're a black woman saying those people. We the last people that should be saying those people.
I'm talking about the MAGA people in the Republican Party.
Exactly. You're categorizing a group of people and having them represent what a couple of people are saying. It's not MAGA. You know I'm part of MAGA technically, and I don't believe this nonsense.
Okay, some of the people in MAGA who support his statement, they have a cult-like mentality. The only thing that man had to say was, you know, we are sorry for the loss of Mr. Reiner, and no one has to die violently, and we pray for his family, and please keep his family in our prayers. That's it.
You're right.
He couldn't even do that.
Okay. All right. You're right. You know? You're right. I thought I said that. All right, Cindy.
And you are absolutely right.
We don't need to hear all that. We don't need to hear all that.
I can agree with you on things from time to time without it being an anomaly like you think it is. You know?
Well, not an anomaly, but it's ruining my career. I'm joking. I'm joking, Cindy. I'm joking.
I'm helping your career here.
No,
I'm giving you some street cred back to your career.
Well, you know, thank you, Cindy. Thank you.
And you're welcome.
All right. Have a good Merry Christmas.
Welcome, you too.
Can we sneak in, Chris? We have time. We can do them at 4. Can you hang on or call back?
We got about $1:30. Chris, can you hold on?
Can you hold? You want to hold on? We got a minute left. I want you to have. All right, cool.
To my next mission.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'll read to me to what I said, but that's really all I'm saying. It's just about common decency. And isn't this again what we all Republicans screamed when Charlie Kirk was dead? When people were reveling in Charlie Kirk's death, isn't this exactly what we said? I took on an attorney, a local attorney, who I liked, who I respected, who I admired, because literally hours after Charlie Kirk's assassination, and I'm not going to name him, but if you listen to the show, you may remember who it was. Hours after Charlie Kirk's murder, he was chronicling some of the things that even I didn't agree with Charlie Kirk. And all I said was, why now? Can't you wait? The man hasn't even been buried yet, and you're dogging him. And I'm just being equal and fair. Quick time out, more TRBS.
This is AM 1180 KERN Green Acres. This is 96.1 FM Bakersfield. Online at KERNradio.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The Trump administration is expanding its travel ban to include 5 more countries and impose new limits on others. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
President Trump continues to clamp down on travelers from select foreign countries. The administration announced that citizens of Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, South Sudan, and Syria are banned from entering the United States. It's also fully restricting travel on people with Palestinian Authority-issued travel documents. Back in June, the president announced that citizens of 12 countries would be banned from visiting the U.S., and those from 7 others would face restrictions. Greg Clugston, Washington.
At a news conference, Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman says charges are being brought in the deaths of actor-director Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle Singer Reiner.
Today, I'm here to announce that our office will be filing charges against Nick Reiner, who was accused of killing his parents, actor-director Rob Reiner, and photographer-producer Michelle Singer Reiner. These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with the special circumstance of multiple murders.
Nick Reiner's attorney Alan Jackson said medical reasons kept his client from making his first court appearance Tuesday. The effort to find a man who walked into a Brown University campus and shot nearly a dozen students in a crowded lecture hall has raised serious questions about the school's security systems and the urgency of the investigation itself. On Sunday, officials released a person of interest without charges, leaving investigators scrambling for new leads. The shooting killed 2 students and injured 9 others. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 302 points. More at townhall.com.
This is Dennis Prager for AmFed Coin and Bullion. There's something about the feel of a gold coin in your hand and the way the light reflects off its intricate details that has always captivated me. Nick Grovich, AmFed's owner, turned that same passion into his livelihood. Nick began collecting coins as a teen, and that interest grew into a nationally respected business offering only the finest quality coins at the most competitive prices. But the truth is that although Nick is a rare coin dealer, he doesn't believe in rare coins. Rare coins do not make sound investments, but they do make dealers a lot of money. See, that's part of what I respect about him. AmFed specializes in buying non-performing numismatic coins and turning them into gold or silver investments that provide liquidity and perform competitively against the market. Whether you're buying or selling, call 800-221-7694. That's 800-221-7694. AmericanFederal.com.
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Sometimes the little things add up to big ones. I'm Chris Davis. That was the case for a Lowe's in the northeast part of the city when they asked for help from police. They had been victimized at least 15 times with items being stolen from the store, and police say that was all by the same guy. They added up to over $2,700 worth. But they say no Del Campo went back to the well one too many times and was finally caught. He has been charged with suspicion of grand theft, organized retail theft, and shoplifting. In McFarland, at their police department, they have a new person in charge, only he's not new. The permanent police chief, named Monday by the city council, is veteran officer Adrian Olmos, who has been serving as the interim chief. They've been searching for a new chief since October, but chose Olmos for the $135,000 a year job because of his 23-year law enforcement experience and his familiarity with the department, the officers, and the community he serves. In Shafter, right now, you pay a 7.25% sales tax. That's the lowest of any city in Kern County. And right now, it's just not making ends meet. So the city may be considering putting it to a vote next year. At today's city council meeting, they're considering whether to hire a company that could effectively communicate their message to the potential voters. The city calls it a frigid tradition. And if you're up for it, they are inviting you to the Polar Bear Plunge, which will happen New Year's Day. The cost is only $5. And for that, you get to go up the slide stairway, down the slide, into the icy water at the McMurtry Aquatic Center and swim 25 yards. Or they say you can just hop in and swim the 25 yards before climbing out to a refreshing cup of hot chocolate. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
What do you think, this is the Army where you shoot them a mile away? You got to get up close like this. Bada bing, you blow their brains all over your nice Ivy League suit.
It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Now make sure you leave the house when you make the call. You understand me? You hear me? Call from an outside line. I mean it.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Hour 2 of the broadcast on this Tuesday, 16th day of December. Almost a week away from Christmas, if you can believe that. Good Google movie. Still lots to do on the broadcast. We got into a pretty good discussion about common decency and when to and not to disparage a person. And my thesis is, A, you don't talk about somebody who can't retort, can't respond. It's kind of one of the foundations of our judicial system that you get to face your accuser. And it seems to me that if you're going to disparage somebody, they should at least have the ability to respond. And as I talked about with Cindy, Mr. Reiner did go after the president. As I said, he helped fund a group that investigated the Russia hoax. He was an activist in pushing forward the belief that not only did the Russians interfere in the 2016 election, which was untrue, the Russians tried to get in. You really think that since Trump's come on the scene, that this is the first time that the Soviet Union or the now Russia has tried to interfere in our elections? You don't think China has tried to interfere in our elections? Really? But Mr. Reiner went even further to say that the president was involved, that the president colluded with the Russians. So let me make it clear. I can understand the president's hatred for Rob Reiner. As I've said, not to be holier than thou and to be honest. There are people that could die today. And I'd be like, oh, well. I wouldn't use my platform to speak ill of them. I would mind my business and be like, karma. It is what it is. But I don't think that I would speak ill of them. If you're alive and you're a player, it's my job to voice my opinion about what you're doing or not doing, or how well you're doing it, or how poorly you're doing it. That's something completely different. And I am not the commander-in-chief, the leader of the free world. Hell, my opinions don't even represent the company that I work for. My opinions are my own, and they do not represent the opinions of Rogers Brandon or Billy Smith, my general manager, or American General Media. But this man is the leader of the free world, that beacon on a hill. And here he is saying that a man's death was because of him and because of the man's obsession with the president, which doesn't even make sense, let alone get into the category of common decency. And then to double down a day later, I think it's inbounds to say Joe Smith died, wasn't a fan, didn't like him, didn't think he was very talented. But to call him deranged and to create a motive for his death that is somehow linked to you, not only shows a narcissism that is just off the chart, but again, it just gets back to common decency. And the only reason I bring up how I was raised is because isn't that how we form our opinions? And I can remember being chastised by my mother as a kid when somebody our family detested, and I'm certainly not going to get into it, who died. And I remember this like it was yesterday. I said, I made just like a joke about their death. And we were in a car, and my mother turned around and she said, don't you ever say anything like that. And I was like, you didn't like him either. I said that in my head. I didn't say it to my mother. And I said something like, I thought we all hated him. And she said, that's not the point. You do not speak ill of the dead. And I was a little confused. I think I was like 11, 73. Yeah, I was 11 years old. But this is a whole different can of worms. Is Chris back? No?
Not yet.
Feel free to call in, Chris. Let me read the responses to what I said. The person that wrote, I have no feelings, they wrote, my heart hurts for those left behind, but I'm not at all sympathetic. It's hard to be when I've heard the rhetoric being spewed by him. See, I don't understand that. Political rhetoric and speaking ill of somebody who's died, I think, is just different. Someone else wrote, I was thinking I'm an a-hole, but it wiped out. I hope others would respect my family at least. Yes, I thought those that attacked in Israel on the day 7 and killed, raped, and kidnapped the innocent, I thought they should be taken away so they could never do it again, but that was physical assault, not verbal. Someone else wrote, this man and his wife were made in the image of God. Life is so precious. If you've ever known of someone who wanted to unalive you just because they think differently from you or just plain old immaturity, then let me tell you it's a terrible thing. If this had happened to the president, I would have been just as grieved. Another person wrote, I would never ever be glad a person died just because I disagree with their thoughts and points of view. Sort of puts a limit to the freedom of speech, but to each his own or her own, what everyone else conscious allows. And then quote, I just, I just think it's reprehensible. I really do. And you all are pretending like I was a huge Rob Reiner fan. I was not. I was not. I was a huge fan of his work. Who wasn't? Who didn't like Spinal Tap? Who didn't like American President? Who didn't like
Princess Bride?
Princess Bride. What was the jury thing with Tom Cruise?
A Few Good Men?
Few Good Men. I mean, the man was a genius. Who didn't like his dad? One of the great stories I heard from Rob Reiner, because he's all over the reels, it's all I saw last night before I went to bed, was he said, he was talking about how difficult it was growing up the son of a very famous man. And he said that he told his dad after he visited the set and got involved in his dad's work, he said, I want to change my name, Dad. And Carl Reiner thought, wow, my shadow is overcoming my son, and it's so difficult to be my son. He wants to change his name. And Carl Reiner asked his son, Rob, what do you want to change your name to? And he said, Carl, which I thought was kind of cool. And I'll tell you something, the admiration and respect and reverence I had for my father, everybody used to ask me, do you have a problem with the name Ralph? It's kind of a crazy name. It's synonymous for vomiting. And I said, no, I wore my name proudly because it was my dad's name. And if I'm a third of the man my father was, I'll be a decent human being. And I think I am. I think I'm fair. I'm honest to a fault. It would be so much smarter for me to come in here and just preach to you all and tell you all you want to hear. Oh, Trump is great. And I agree with Trump about what he said about Rob Reiner. My numbers would be out the roof. I just can't do it. I just won't do it. And it could be one day the end of my career. I don't know. But I'll go out of radio at least knowing that I can look myself in the face and I told people what I thought. And I know what you're saying. Well, Ralph, that's exactly what Donald Trump did. I'm not the president of the United States. I don't represent 250 million people. The world doesn't read what Ralph Bailey says, nor does it give a damn. But the world does. The world. Not the United States, not Canada, not Mexico. The world watches, reads, and listens to every syllable that comes out of the White House. And if you all think it's cool for the president to call a dead man deranged, criticize his career, and claim that he died because of me, or him in this case, okay, we got to agree to disagree. I'm just telling you how I feel. And I think it's indecent. I think it's wrong. And I think it's going to kill the Republican Party. The midterms, forget about it. Forget about it. And we'll talk about this in about 11 months, next Christmas, when the Democrats are in the White House and they've got the Senate, and they've got the House. And then you know what happens next? You know the very first thing they're going to do next December, next January? They're going to get rid of the filibuster, which means it'll only take 50 votes in the Senate, along with Vice President Jasmine Crockett, God forbid, to break the tie. And then you know what they're going to do? There'll be 15 members of the United States Supreme Court. And if it is Josh Shapiro, if it is Gavin Newsom, if it is Kamala Harris, guess what ilk those next 6 jurors will be? Then the next thing they're going to do? Puerto Rico, 51st state. Washington, District of Columbia, the 52nd state. These are huge stakes, folks. Stakes, S-T-A-K-E-S. Huge stakes over the next year. Trump has taken the world this way, and if we screw around and we blow the midterms, the world is going to go like this. It's going to take a radical turn to the left. Just saying. Who you got?
Chris is back.
What's up, Chris Orr?
Hey, Ralph Bailey. Actually, I think if you actually kowtowed to everybody regarding Trump, then you would lose me, because I respect you for voicing your appropriate opinion. So don't change that.
I would never.
Yeah. And I completely agree with you. I think Donald Trump missed the mark on this, and it was wrong. And I think more people should be focused. If he wanted to focus on something, he could have focused and highlighted the whole aspect of the war on drugs they've been fighting, and how this most likely contributed to their son losing his gourd and committing an atrocity beyond words. That's, should have been the focus, and just, had paid his respects and left it at that. However, I will say, and I agree with you on this, and I agree with Cindy, I don't know if Kirk was killed, or when the National Guardsmen were attacked and one was killed. Where was everybody else on the left offering their condolences? Or, there were some, but still, the rhetoric from the left is 10 times what it was from the right. Not excusing Donald Trump at all, but so the hypocrisy is pretty severe. My hope is people don't quickly forget what the price of gas is now. People don't forget that Iran was a nuclear threat a year ago, and that is no longer the case in the world. So I do have to compartmentalize the man's character, which matters, from the actions he takes to secure our nation and the world. It's not just about us; it's about the safety and security of the world. So that's what I hope people also look at. But I absolutely condemn what he said. It was a stupid move, and it was inappropriate, and he should not have opened his mouth about it.
All right, Chris. Thanks, man. Appreciate the call.
All right.
Late. Let's go ahead and take a break. Oh, you got one more?
I got one more real quick.
We can squeeze it. Yeah, we can squeeze it in. Well, who you got?
Sandy.
Sandy, you're on the Ralph Bailey Show.
Hi, Ralph. How are you?
I'm great, Sandy. How are you?
I'm very well. I believe we were raised very similar. I'm 52. My father has been gone for 15 years, but there's still things in my day-to-day life. If I were to put my elbows on the table as I'm eating, scrape the fork of my teeth, I would hear him in my head talk about my manners. That was a big thing. How we presented ourselves, talk to adults, yes sir, no sir. Same things I taught my kids. And trying to correlate to what you're talking about now, basically, my father was in Vietnam. He was not a big fan of a certain actress that did some things in Vietnam. I, thinking I was funny one day, said, I hope she dies, and blah, blah, blah. And my father gave me that look. That terrified me, even as an adult, and said, no. There's one thing is not liking somebody, but have some class, and God forbid, when she's gone, if you say something, no, we do not speak ill of the dead.
That's
Judgment is from God.
I thought that was as common as every family in America. And I know you're obviously talking about Jane Fonda.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think
Yeah.
she's a traitor to this country. I will never forgive her. I mean, most of us have seen the pictures of her with I don't know what type of weapon it was, but she's laughing and giggling with the North Vietnamese and tooling around on a weapon that is used to kill American boys. And
Yep,
she's
and
laughing and
POW.
giggling. And I'm just like, nope, off my list. Don't give a
Yep.
damn how great an actress you are. That to me was treason.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, but you're right. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that, Sandy. Always good to hear from you.
You too.
Be
Take
nice.
care.
Be nice to see you.
It would. You have to get better.
You're right. When I get better. All right, Sandy. I'll see you later. Bye. Sorry about that, fellas. Bringing in my private life.
You are just.
I know, Sandy.
I could tell. Yeah, we know you know.
All right,
Sandy.
settle down. Settle down and push the button. Quick timeout. We're coming right back. We'll check the board because I'm sure it's filled with folks that just don't have time to call in. We'll do that. Bottom of the hour, Steve Hilton is speaking out, one of the two Republicans in the gubernatorial race that are at the top. Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco, still the leader. He is tied with Eric Swalwell atop the most recent gubernatorial poll. But Steve Hilton's right there with behind Katie Porter, who is second. Steve Hilton, a British man who was chief of staff or somebody. But he is tearing apart SB 357. What is SB 357? Well, we'll find out at the bottom of the hour. Then coming up at the 5 o'clock hour, we'll talk about the sentence for one of the other doctors involved with the death of Matthew Perry. And we'll talk a little sports at 5:30. Tell you about what's going on at ABC News tonight in connection with Robert Reiner. Quick timeout. Coming right back. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on a sunny Tuesday afternoon. Good googly moogly. Right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN, where we're streaming live at kernradio.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Wednesday's Armstrong and Getty Show, we continue to raise money for the Scouts, and that shooting at Brown University, was the killer targeting a conservative leader?
And you remember Zoran Mondami? How weird is this? His transition team are intentionally misspelling their own names and documents so you can't research them and figure out who they are and what they really believe. The next Armstrong and Getty Show.
Weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
No one can beat us, no one can touch us. You won't find better prices. Shop and compare, we don't care. Take a look our way and come into
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
Carpet Outlet Plus is celebrating 30 years in business by offering you no interest financing for 12 months. Head over to carpetoutletplus.com to apply now. You can get new waterproof flooring and comfy carpet in the bedrooms, all from one trusted place. Over 70,000 customers can't be wrong. It's probably been time to change your floors for a while, so call, click, or stop by today. Carpet Outlet Plus, 3.5 blocks west of 99 on Rosedale Highway.
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
Meet Paul Sheldon's client, Guy Picard.
Hi, my name is Guy Picard, and I am very happy that I found Paul Sheldon. What a relief it is trying to turn 65 and find somebody like him to help me navigate this industry. I think that it's really important that you look at all of the options that you have and then give Paul Sheldon a call, because he will create a plan that fits your budget and fits what you're trying to achieve as far as trying to get the best possible medical care that you can have. So I'd like to recommend Paul Sheldon to any of you out there that are trying to navigate the medical industry at turning 65. Give Paul Sheldon and his staff a call. They are awesome. And I'd just like to say, Paul and your whole entire staff, you guys rock.
When Medicare matters, our team has the answers.
Team Paul Sheldon.
398-2298.
My Patriot Supply, America's most trusted survival food company, wishes you and yours a very Merry Christmas. As our gift to you, we've got an amazing deal on survival food kits. Buy one, gift two. That's right, for a limited time, when you grab our best-selling 4-week emergency food kit, we'll include 2 one-week kits free to hand out as gifts. That's 4 weeks of emergency food for you, and 2 ready-to-give gifts for anyone on your list who's into preparedness, or anyone who needs a nudge in that direction. But they're only available for a limited time. Grab yours at mypatriotsupply.com and give the gift of food security this Christmas. With 2,000 calories per day, 16 delicious meal and snack varieties, and up to 25-year shelf life, it's no wonder our 4-week food kit is the best-selling emergency food supply of all time. But the buy one, gift two Christmas special won't last long. So claim yours now at mypatriotsupply.com. That's mypatriotsupply.com.
The Armstrong and Getty Show, weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Now, back to
but I don't know how else to express it. It really is good. We'll get to the text messages after the break, but here's a question that I did not pose at the top of the show when we were talking about Nick Reiner. I did mention that he's retained Alan Jackson, a very, very high-powered, very, very expensive attorney whose clients recently include Kevin Spacey, Harvey Weinstein, and Karen Reed, the woman who was accused of killing her policeman boyfriend in a drunken accident in someone's driveway and was acquitted after 2 trials. And he has a very well-earned reputation for winning non-winnable cases. Who's paying for this? You know what I'm saying? I mean, this kid got this high-powered attorney like almost instantly. What is it, Tuesday? He was arrested Sunday? And what the hell was he doing at Exposition Park? My only guess was trying to score. What's a kid from Brentwood doing down by SC? And I refrained from calling it a ghetto, but like I said, my mother didn't want me in that neighborhood at night in the 1970s just to go to a Ram game. It's not a really safe place to be, particularly not for a kid from Brentwood, let me tell you. We head into the back half of the hour. We can continue our discussion on decency and the president's comments. I do want to get to Steve Hilton's comments, however. But it's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Donald Trump says he's ordering a blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers into Venezuela, ramping up pressure on the country's authoritarian leader Nicolas Maduro. The move comes after U.S. forces last week seized an oil tanker off Venezuela's coast, an unusual move that followed a buildup of military forces in the region. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says peace proposals for U.S. officials to present to Russia could be finalized within days. He said late Monday a draft peace plan discussed in Berlin with American and European officials is very workable, but issues like the status of Ukrainian territory occupied by Russia remain unresolved. U.S.-led peace efforts are gaining momentum. More details at srnnews.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
You are being asked to be on the lookout for a copper thief, a man who stole copper from an AC at a business on Chester Avenue back on October 23rd. He's 20 to 30 years old with black hair. He was last seen wearing a black shirt, gray cargo shorts, and white shoes. Police are asking for tips. In Shafter, the city council is considering today whether to hire a communications firm to convey their message about a need to raise the sales tax next year. They say the 7.25% isn't cutting it to cover expenses, and that would be put to a vote by the people. Bakersfield's 33 new police officers are helping remodel homes for a community service project as their first assignment. That's part of the Healthy Rooms project. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for the... And there they go, almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fam favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m.
I'm tired of waking up and hearing another case of a DUI. We just had the Madison Williams case where she was found guilty. We have another trial going on where a 6-year-old was killed. Now again, I'm hearing an 8-year-old is dead because of an alleged DUI. Something needs to be done to fix this.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. The Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, live 9 to noon. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Chris and I were watching the funeral for the rabbi killed in Bondi Beach shooting. And we know that Rabbi Shmuley Schlanger, his brother was killed. And Chris and I are trying to figure out, because Fox is talking about him right now, was that his brother? Was his brother? Does anybody know? Was Rabbi Shmuley's brother a rabbi as well?
I'm not seeing anything here that's confirming he is one. It does say that his brother is a rabbi.
It does say his brother's a rabbi?
Well, no, I'm sorry. It's saying that Eli, the man who died,
his brother was a rabbi.
So,
but it
yeah,
doesn't
Rabbi
say that
Shmuley.
Eli.
It does not say that Eli himself.
So that's probably not what they're talking
No.
about.
But if we're wrong, tighten me up, because I that's all I'm reading here.
Yeah, I'm sure there's somebody listening that knows the Schlangers. Let us know if his brother was just because they're talking about him on Fox. So let us know if somebody knows Rabbi. He's a really good guy. I've known him for years. I don't know if he remembers me. I've covered him when I was doing TV at the time when I covered him, he and his lovely wife. 842-5376, 842-KERN. What do you got on the board there, Mr. Burdick?
This first one says, Ralph, so the city of Shafter is going to use taxpayer money to pay a company to convince the taxpayers to increase their taxes and pay more. I thought only Bakersfield was that dumb.
I know. And Shafter, as I have stated numerously, because I used to cover Shafter for the Californian, I was a correspondent that covered Shafter, McFarland, Delano, and Wasco. I've always said that Shafter is the best run city in this county by far. I think it's one of the cleanest, one of the prettiest cities in our community. And I go back to the John Quinn days and those guys that I thought just ran that city really, really well. And I was surprised to see that. I really was. You're right. I can't speak for them, but I hope they don't get taken like we got taken. Although maybe Shafter has needs that we don't understand that this tax could help out. You know, I've never been a big tax guy. Even when I was a young liberal Democrat, I didn't understand how with the type of money the government has, because it's not a matter of, oh, I don't want to pay taxes. I don't want to pay taxes that gets wasted. And Measure N was a classic example of that. How we tried to warn everybody, there's no way in the world the city is going to use this money as they have stated it's intended, and they haven't. They haven't. But give it to Alan Tandy. I wasn't a fan. He's still alive, isn't he? I can say bad things about him. Whatever you wanted to think about him, and I was not a fan of Mr. Tandy's, but he was a shrewd manipulator, and he got Mike Turnipseed on board and got the Kern Tax Association to help him get it across the goal line. I know that's one of Mike's great, what's the word I should use to be careful, because Mike will be in here on Thursday. I don't know if he regrets it. I think we'll ask him on Thursday. I think Mike does regret helping get Measure N over the goal line, and you know, give it to Tandy, who tossed all the naysayers a bone with this oversight committee, which we now know, we've all learned, has the teeth of Moms Mabley. For the younger and Caucasian members of our audience, Moms Mabley was a famous African-American comedian who was famous for not having teeth. 842-5376, 842-KERN, what do you got?
Actually, real quick, looking into this a little bit more, Eli was a rabbi.
So that's who they're talking about.
I believe this is, well, there are two rabbis that were killed during this,
Oh.
but I'm sure he is being mentioned.
I was going to say, then let's eavesdrop on what they're saying, because this is live from Australia, but they could be right. They could be talking about the other rabbis, so let's not even get into it. What do you got on the board?
Let's see. Common decency went away, starting with the guy on the top with the name calling.
I think you're right, and I think that's unfortunate. I really do. We are a different America. You know, the old phrase, it's not your daddy's America. Hell, it ain't my America. It's not the America that I grew up in the 70s and the 80s. It's not. There is a mean-spirited nature that has entered politics, the likes of which I've never seen. Don't get me wrong, I'm not naive. It's been worse. Oh, it's been worse. If you weren't smoking weed during history class, guys used to shoot each other. Politicians used to get mad at each other and go, let's go outside and shoot each other. One of the smartest founding fathers, the guy that basically set up our whole economic system, died in a gun battle. Alexander Hamilton. Shot by Chris?
Burr?
Absolutely. Aaron Burr. So it's been worse. Andrew Jackson once damn near beat a man to death with a cane because he talked smack about his wife. Because in the 18th century, 19th century, if you remarried, you were kind of a floozy. And they talked smack about his wife, and Jackson damn near beat the man to death with his cane. It's been worse, but that don't make it right. What else you got?
More than likely, he is being medically detoxed before being arraigned.
I haven't heard any issues with his mental stability, although I think his actions make it clear this kid was unstable. Just the mere description of his actions at the Conan O'Brien Christmas party excuse me, where apparently he was running around asking people, "Are you famous? Are you famous?" And he was eavesdropping on a man's conversation, and the comedian told him to step aside, and that's when the rumpus began. And then Rob apparently came over to get his son out of the situation, and then he blew up at his dad, and then apparently stormed out of the party. He came in looking like an outlier. It was a formal Christmas party, and apparently Nick Reiner had on a hoodie, you know. So, yeah, clearly he had some mental issues. And I think, you know, if you've been doing drugs like heroin or whatever, they haven't even talked about what drug issue he had, whether it was coke or heroin or methamphetamine, whatever. But if you're doing drugs like that from the time you're 15 to the time you're 32, your brain is fried. Fried. I mean, teenagers doing heroin, your brain by the time you're 32 years old is fried. But again, the whole issue is the death penalty in terms of his mental stability. And there's a long line to be whacked in the state of California. So essentially, we have no death penalty. We really don't. Couple more.
Move on, Ralph. Reiner got his just desserts.
Well, sir, there's a thing called karma, and I hope it befalls you. I really do. He got his just desserts. He deserved to die.
Feels good.
That's where we are. That's where we are. Where somebody can sit on a computer and say, someone deserved to die because of his political leanings. That's where we are. That's why I'm so upset. That's why I got on that Facebook thing. Because that's about as indecent a thing to say about somebody. Again, it's just how you were raised. That's what it boils down to, in my opinion. Your character is built by your parents and your childhood experiences. And if you're a grown-ass human being and you think people deserve to die because of what they think, then I guess the Holocaust was justified then, right? The Nazis disagreed with how the Jews thought, so get rid of them. Why not? Rob Reiner got his just desserts, so why not all the Jews? Because that's what's going on in America. We experienced a 345% increase in deaths by Jews, or a 345% increase in incidents involving Jews in 2024. And not that I'm bringing religion into this. The fact that Rob Reiner was Jewish, I don't know if he was a practicing Jew or not, but I'm just saying, with that kind of rationalization, you can rationalize the Holocaust. Remarkable. It really is. One more, let's take a break.
I'm guessing this Reiner kid is using his parents' money to defend himself against the alleged murder of his parents?
But does he have access to that? Well, of course, that's a good guess, but I'm just guessing, how does he have access to his parents' dough? They may have set up a trust fund for him, I guess. I'm guessing that the final argument, and this is just typical of drug addicts, at least in my life experience, was about money. And my guess is, and this is just a guess, he might have killed them in their sleep for all I know. But I'm guessing they had a confrontation. He needed money to score. And Rob and Michelle just said, no, we've drawn the line. You're 32 years old. You're living in our house. We'll feed you, we'll clothe you, we'll house you, but we're not going to fuel your drug addiction. You really think it's a coincidence that a kid from Brentwood who just killed his parents ended up in the ghetto? A Brentwood kid? Do you know how far Brentwood is from Exposition Park? And I mean in distance and in social class. It's further in social class than it is in actual distance. Having gone to school in Brentwood, and having been a Ram season ticket holder, I know exactly how long it takes to get from Sunset Boulevard to Exposition Park. But it's a whole lot further, socially speaking, than it is in distance. What's a 32-year-old Brentwood kid doing in the ghetto? Scoring dope, if you ask me. Just a guess. I have no evidence to prove that. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll continue to read the board, but I do want to get to the, call it famous or infamous, the interview that Susie Wiles, the president's chief of staff, did with Vanity Fair. They're saying some of her controversial comments about the president and his cabinet were taken out of context, but some of them are direct quotes. We'll talk about that, get into the five, and get back into the Matthew Perry situation. One of the physicians involved was sentenced. You may be surprised at the sentence that this former doctor received. And we got some sports notes we'll get to. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on a Tuesday. A little warmer, a little sunshine. Be nice if the sun just stayed out for the rest of the week. It's TRBS on News Talk 96.1, AM 1180, KERN. We stream live at kernradio.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180, KERN. Start your day right. First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Wednesday edition of the First Look program, we'll talk a little medicine with our friend Dr. Vip Dev. John Cox will be joining us from the Californian to administer the news quiz. I'll crush it. We'll back all of that up with state-of-the-art news and traffic and weather. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 and streaming live on the internet at kernradio.com.
First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180, KERN.
Attention, Medicare beneficiaries here in Kern County. If you are eligible for Medicare and looking for a doctor who listens and cares about you with minimal wait times and prompt referral authorizations, it's time you learned about QualCare IPA. QualCare IPA contracts with most Medicare Advantage health plans and provides you with access to a large network of outstanding doctors and quality hospitals right here in Kern County. Medicare Advantage health plans go beyond original Medicare benefits coverage, and understanding these coverage differences may be confusing. Call us today at 661-554-4544 and let us help you understand your healthcare options for 2025. Call today, 661-554-4544. That's 661-554-4544. Get the information you need and the coverage you deserve. For accommodations of persons with special needs at meetings, call 661-554-4544, TTY 711.
And we're back. Another
Yes, we're
commercial
back.
for California Fruit Depot.
Cal Fruit Depot.
First, it needs to be said that a lot of listeners are complaining that you're not pulling your own weight on these commercials.
Wait, this is a 1-minute podcast. I'll lead with that. Now back to you.
If you're wearing a jacket and you're hearing this commercial, come on out to California Fruit Depot. Come on out and see us.
Not Christmas.
Oranges.
It's a jacket special.
Dates, shakes, smoothies, all those things. They're available.
What
Come
else
on out.
do
You
you
can
have out
ship them to family and friends all over the country.
Shipping available.
Another thing I like to talk about is getting a jingle.
please.
We need a jingle.
We do need a
All
jingle.
musicians, bands. Hey, if you got AI capabilities, send us an AI commercial.
Submit it.
For California Fruit Depot. Has to be radio friendly.
Ooh, California Fruit Depot.
Got your citrus. Got your nuts.
Come get some dates. Come get your dates.
Send your jingle to citrusjinglecontest@gmail.com and come out to California Fruit Depot. Google us for directions, or you can visit us online at calfruitdepot.com.
Hey, I made the commercial.
Are the rising waters of expenses and debt threatening to drown you? Many people try to stay afloat by borrowing more money or using debt settlement programs, but those can take years. If you're trapped under credit card debt, medical bills, payday loans, or buy now, pay later plans, Chapter 7 bankruptcy could free you much sooner. In about 4 months, and for a fraction of the cost. Stop the harassing calls and letters, rebuild your credit quickly, and clear the way for a fresh start. At Clean Slate BK Group, consumer Chapter 7 bankruptcies are all we do. We can help you erase credit card debt, medical bills, personal loans, even past due utility bills. Find out if you qualify at no cost and with no obligation. Go to csbk.com. This is an attorney advertisement. Your results may vary, and prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome. Clean Slate BK Group PC, located at 7 Penn Plaza, Suite 601, New York, New York 10001, is responsible for the content of this ad. For more information, visit csbk.com. That's csbk.com. Your clean slate starts here.
You're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show. Catch me weekday morning 6 to 9 a.m. on First Look with Scott Cox, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Eight 842-5376, 842-KERN. I wish people that really don't know me would stop texting me during the show. Really. I mean, I don't mind if friends text, but Michael Anthony's texting me with stuff that he's making up in his head and claiming that he knows it for a fact. And the man's name is Reiner, not Reichart, Michael Anthony. Who you got?
Mario.
Mario, what's really going on?
Hey, Ralph.
Hey, man.
I just can't. Once, I think he's reached a certain level of pettiness, and then he keeps going. And I just don't understand. Look, there's a lot of his policies I agree with, but I can't get past the man's character. I mean, there is no level he will stoop to. It just boggles the mind.
It does. I asked Kathy yesterday, like, what do I do? I like the man as a president. I can't stand the man as a man. I maybe that's far to say, but I can't figure this guy out. And if you listen to Bill Maher, who had dinner with him, who despises him politically, he says he's a really nice guy. And it was a fun dinner. And he seems like a decent human being. And then he does weird things like this that I just, what is the motivation? What do you gain from speaking ill of somebody who just died? I don't understand it, particularly from a guy who wants to be liked and loved. You would think we'd just leave it alone.
That was the whole thing behind getting his FIFA Peace Prize, because he couldn't get the Nobel Peace Prize.
Right.
And I want to say, I could be wrong, but I thought I read that when Charlie Kirk was killed, Rob Reiner came out and said, this is, people should not die for their political beliefs. This is the United States. We're entitled to our opinion.
I was going to play that.
You may not like it. I get he doesn't like the fact that Rob Reiner talks crap about him, but it's the United States. We're allowed to talk crap about people.
And particularly the President of the United States or elected officials.
Exactly. And if he doesn't like it, then he is in the completely wrong office. So
it's hard to be a president and be thin-skinned.
Absolutely. And Ralph, and I'm glad that we do have our differences of opinion, but I'm also glad we agree on a lot of stuff, like the Dodgers and and the fact that the Raiders are the worst NFL team, almost the worst NFL team. I appreciate that about you.
Who's worse than us?
Ooh, the Giants.
Yeah, the Giants technically.
Oh yeah.
The Browns. I mean, even though Browns have one more win, I would.
Well, I wouldn't say they're worse than you, though, Mario.
Oh well, certainly the Giants.
Yeah, the Giants, maybe even the Jets.
I'd give you the Jets.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Jets are worse.
But they've got one more win than we do.
Yeah, but that was a fluke, let's be honest.
What, the Jets?
Yeah, the fact that they won 3 this year, I still can't figure out how.
Well, the Browns won 3, right?
Yeah, but the Browns have the second best defense in the NFL.
Well, they're my fantasy team defense. I'll grant you that.
And one of their wins was against us.
True.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a good point right there.
Yeah. Okay, that says it all, Ralph.
Yes, it does.
Okay,
all right, Mario. Always good to hear from you, bro.
Bye.
Like, that's funny. Yeah, weren't you telling me last night that we still are not the first pick?
Yeah, you would be the second pick if it ended today.
That the Giants
The
have
Giants
it, but they're
take
going to
it.
give it to the Jets?
But the Giants wouldn't take a quarterback anyway because they love Jackson.
True that.
So you guys.
That's why they're going to trade it to the Jets.
Exactly.
And they're gonna get who's the second guy? It's Mendez.
So it's Mendoza.
Mendoza, I mean.
Well, technically,
And then who's the
Mendoza's
black kid?
two.
Who's the black kid at Oregon?
Moore.
Is that who that's who they're saying?
That's who Kuiper has at the top. I don't think it's gonna stick though. I think Mendoza's the better of the two.
Who else would we draft if Mendoza's gone?
Offensive line. And
then stay with Geno?
No. You probably wouldn't stick with Geno, but you could always pick a quarterback later on and just go grab a left tackle. You know what I mean?
Is there a outstanding left tackle somebody who really is like,
To be
this
honest,
kid is a
off top of my head, I can't think of anybody. So maybe not, but you never know until the draft.
Because there was one kid, I think he played for Notre Dame, who was like, they said he was going to be a Hall of Famer, and he blew out his knee, didn't he? The left tackle.
That'd be Joe Alt. That's the
Is that
that's
who
the
it
one
was?
the Chargers have.
No, I mean right now.
Oh, in this draft.
Right now.
Oh, I'm not.
And he
100%
blew
sure
his
on that
knee
one.
out like they were saying preseason. Oh, this kid's an instant first round, and then he blew out his knee in either the fourth or fifth week. It's either Notre Dame or it was some
Maybe
big
Bama
school.
or
Yeah,
somebody.
it was some big school. But
It wouldn't surprise me. There's always one.
so you don't think we're going to move off Geno?
No, I think you move off Geno 110%. Yeah, no,
thank
that's
you,
done.
Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
I think you move off Geno and Pete Carroll. I think that entire idea is just going to get blown up.
I don't think we're going to get rid of Pete. I think you can't just keep recycling coaches.
True.
At some point, you got to settle down and hang with your guy.
However, the Patriots said the same thing. They fired Mayo and went with Vrabel, and now look at him.
True that. It all depends, because I'll tell you this. If Mike Tomlin is on the table, he would look good in silver and black, Jack.
I think a lot of people are saying the same thing. I think Miami says the same thing. But I don't know if he leaves.
Although, don't we need an offensive-minded quarterback coach right now?
Honestly,
Don't we need like a Sean McVay, a Sean Payton, a Ben Johnson type head coach?
I think you would be okay with either or as long as you get a coordinator that balances it out.
Right.
So basically, you would have to find somebody kind of like Mike McDaniel or somebody to come in and run the offense if you have a defensive-minded head coach.
Right. You mean
That would be the best
Josh
option.
McDaniel?
As of right now, I'm not sure if there are any pairings that I could honestly point out. But
Yeah. 842-5376, 842-KRE. Let's read one and get into the five.
it doesn't make life easier, but she sure is willing to take his.
Let me tell you something. Money can't make you happy. Money can't make life great. You know when money counts? When stuff goes wrong.
Yep.
When life goes wrong, your car explodes. Your apartment burns down. You have a fire and all your clothes are lost. Emergencies and trouble. Money helps. That's the reality of it. And, Barbara was saying, she grew up with money, but she doesn't have money. I grew up with money, and I got a little dough that I've stashed away myself, but my parents didn't leave me any kind of trust fund or anything like that. We headed to the final hour of the broadcast. Don't go anywhere.
This is AM 1180 KERN. Green Acres. This is 96.1 FM. Bakersfield. Online at KERNradio.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. A House subcommittee investigates the Southern Poverty Law Center, which critics say targets Christians and conservative Americans. Tony Perkins, one of the witnesses testifying before the subcommittee, says the SPLC uses its so-called hate map as a tool against targeted groups.
Their hate map isn't research. It is a political weapon aimed at silencing viewpoints that the left opposes. And the legacy media is a silent partner with them.
Perkins, president of the Family Research Council and host of This Week on Capitol Hill on the Salem Radio Network, says the FRC was attacked in 2013 after being included in the SPLC's hate map. The investigation into Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle Singer Reiner's death continues.
Prosecutors say Rob Reiner's son Nick will be charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in the killing of his parents. Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman announced the charges against 32-year-old Nick Reiner at a news conference.
These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with the special circumstance of multiple murders.
The announcement of the charges came 2 days after the famed actor and director Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle Singer Reiner were found dead in their Los Angeles home. Nick's attorney Alan Jackson said medical reasons kept his client from making his first court appearance Tuesday.
We extend our deepest condolences to all of those who are affected by this tragedy.
I'm Haya Panjwani.
The head of the Federal Aviation Administration says he won't forget the 67 people who died when an airliner collided with an Army helicopter over Washington, D.C. in January. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 302 points, the NASDAQ rose 54. More at townhall.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-822-1716. 800-822-1716. 800-822-1716.
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Sometimes the little things add up to big ones. I'm Chris Davis. That was the case for a Lowe's in the northeast part of the city when they asked for help from police. They had been victimized at least 15 times with items being stolen from the store, and police say that was all by the same guy. They added up to over $2,700 worth. But they say no Del Campo went back to the well one too many times and was finally caught. He has been charged with suspicion of grand theft, organized retail theft, and shoplifting. In McFarland, at their police department, they have a new person in charge, only he's not new. The permanent police chief, named Monday by the city council, is veteran officer Adrian Olmos, who has been serving as the interim chief. They've been searching for a new chief since October, but chose Olmos for the $135,000 a year job because of his 23-year law enforcement experience and his familiarity with the department, the officers, and the community he serves. In Shafter, right now, you pay a 7.25% sales tax. That's the lowest of any city in Kern County. And right now, it's just not making ends meet. So the city may be considering putting it to a vote next year. At today's city council meeting, they're considering whether to hire a company that could effectively communicate their message to the potential voters. The city calls it a frigid tradition. And if you're up for it, they are inviting you to the Polar Bear Plunge, which will happen New Year's Day. The cost is only $5. And for that, you get to go up the slide stairway, down the slide, into the icy water at the McMurtry Aquatic Center and swim 25 yards. Or they say you can just hop in and swim the 25 yards before climbing out to a refreshing cup of hot chocolate. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
What do you think? This is the Army where you shoot them a mile away? You got to get a post like this. Bada bing! You blow their brains all over your nice Ivy League suit.
It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Make sure you leave the house when you make the call. You understand me? You hear me? Call from an outside line. I mean it.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for, live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Final hour of the broadcast on this Tuesday, 16th day of December. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 at AM 1180, KERN, where we're streaming live at kernradio.com. I have created a hornet's nest. I've created a hornet's nest? I have
kicked.
Okay. I have stirred a hornet's nest by criticizing the president and those who agree with him in criticizing Rob Reiner, an ardent rival who despised the president and who openly went after the president in tweets and Twitters or whatever, and also funded a probe of the 2016 election. He was also one who openly accused the president wrongfully of being in cahoots with the Russians. We know for a fact that's not the case. So I'm not trying to argue that one shouldn't have ill feelings for someone simply because they die. I thought I effectively used myself as an example. I'll be perfectly blunt. I can name you right now 5 people that I know that live in this community that if a bus hit them today and they died, I'd be like, oh, well. I just don't think that I would come in here and use my platform to denigrate them. I would hope I wouldn't ever speak ill of them. But it's human nature. If someone you hate dies, you're not supposed to just gender up sympathy just because they're no longer here. But do you have to go out of your way to speak badly of them? And yes, speak does take an adverb badly, if you're trying to correct my grammar. 842-5376, 842-KERN. We've got to clear the board. We got tons of text messages. And God dog it, I am not going to get to my Susie Wiles story. I really want to get to this. But what do you got?
The Reiners have probably had many conversations with Nick about his future inheritance. In those conversations, I would bet that they have told him if he didn't get his act together, that he wouldn't be left out of their estate upon their deaths. Money could have been the reason he did this, just like the Menendez brothers.
Well, that's apples and screwdrivers. While they are going for first-degree murder, to compare the premeditation in Nick Reiner's alleged murder and what the Mendezes did is apples and screwdrivers. In fact, if you were with us yesterday, we had one of the best criminal defense attorneys in town, Clayton Campbell, in, and we were talking, I believe, off the air, and he was telling me that a friend of his was one of the investigators who was a part of the Menendez probe, and that it was his buddy, and I forget his name, and Clayton, if you're listening, feel free to text or call in, but who went down to San Diego and found out that that's where the boys bought the shotguns, and found out that, in fact, they had bought the shotguns with fake names. And Clayton was like, I don't know how the hell they did that. It was a different world back then. You know, life has changed in terms of stuff like that. But that was incredibly well calculated. Now, just because you get into a fight with your parents and you get upset and you're like, I'm going to kill them, that's still premeditation. But it just doesn't compare to how the Menendezes plotted this thing out, devised a mafia scheme Their father was in the music business, as was a really good friend of mine, Brett Alastriano, by Brett Aylis. I don't know why I mentioned my old friends' names and bring them into this, and his father was in the music business. And Brett told us that his father was a friend of theirs, as they say, and knew Menendez. So I can only assume, and it's been fairly reported, that they did have connections with the mafia. So the boys intentionally blew up their parents so as to make it look like a mafia hit. That was the whole point of the shotguns and absolutely destroying their bodies, because they wanted it to, and leaving the shotguns there, because that's a pretty typical mafioso style assassination. The mistake they made is the mafia doesn't kill civilians. The mafia would have never killed his wife. They would have gotten him separately. But I don't think it's a comparison, the two. But it's still premeditated, and Hochman, as we played earlier, is still going to try to charge them with 2 counts of first-degree murder.
These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with a special circumstance of multiple murders. He also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife. These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. No decision at this point has been made with respect to the death penalty. We have requested, and currently Nick Reiner is being held without bail.
Now, what we don't know is, did he pick up a knife in the house? Did he come to the house with a knife? And this will all be coming out as soon as these charges are officially leveled against the kid and the warrants are filed. Then the LA Times and many of the news organizations in Los Angeles will seize that, and we'll know exactly what happened that Sunday afternoon, or for all we know, I mean, the last they were seen alive was at the party. So we don't know if he went back after the party and killed them that night. We know that they were found by Reiner's daughter the next afternoon, but in the news conference that Hochman held early this afternoon, they did not say they had a time of death. The coroner is still trying to figure that out. So we don't know. He might have, followed them home after the party and killed them that night. He might have been laying in wait for them after the party, because he bolted out of the party. Remember, he was acting peculiarly at the Conan O'Brien Christmas party, running up to people asking them if they were famous. It was a formal party. He showed up in a hoodie. He was eavesdropping on somebody's conversation. They politely asked him to butt out. That got into a confrontation. Rob came over to try to get his son out of that confrontation, which led to an even larger confrontation that everyone at the party was aware of. And then Reiner, the son, ran out. So we don't know if he ran back to the house and was laying in wait, or whether he found a knife at the home and an argument ensued. We'll find out probably in about a week or two, no longer than 2 weeks. What else you got?
In reference to Trump's comments on the death of Rob Reiner, decency shown to those across the aisle is now a thing of the past. I've noticed this behavior among leaders on both parties. Gone are the days where basic human respect and dignity will get you anywhere. Being something of a historian yourself, do you think decency will ever make a resurgence in politics anytime soon?
Yes. I don't know about anytime soon, but of course, the pendulum always swings. As I've said, we've seen tougher times. We've seen more divisive times. I mean, you go back and read about 18th century politics. Go read about the feud between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, our second and third presidents, who at one time were friends, who helped Jefferson, Adams did, write the Declaration of Independence. I think. God, my memory is so bad.
It'll be either the Declaration or the Bill of Rights, right?
It was the Declaration. He might have written both, actually.
I wouldn't be
But
surprised.
I'm pretty sure it's the Declaration of Independence. They were fast friends. Like I said earlier, Alexander Hamilton got shot over an argument. They used to get into political fights and then say, let's go out in the street and shoot it out. Duels. I told you, Andrew Jackson damn near killed a man with a cane because he talked smack about his wife. We've seen worse times. I think the 60s is still worse than what we're seeing. I think the overall violence is greater now, but have we seen a decade like the 60s in which so many incredible leaders were taken out? Starting with Medgar Evers, who was a Mississippi NAACP leader, followed by John Kennedy, followed by Malcolm X, followed by Martin Luther King Jr., followed by Robert Francis Kennedy. Those are 5 powerful, instrumental men on the United States, all taken within 1 decade. Meantime, fathers and sons are fighting about the worthiness of Vietnam. We've seen more divisive times. I'm not sure we've seen the petty hatred that exists today, but even as a pessimist, I can only hope, and I think history tells us that the pendulum swings. The pendulum swings. In America, the pendulum never stays put. It may take some time, but the pendulum always swings. From conservative to liberal, to mean-spirited to more generous. Did we ever see the likes of post 9/11? When we were all in love with one another? When we were all pulling on the same rope, same side of the rope? Maybe that's what it'll take. Some attack on the United States, where it's us against them. And we finally realize that we all, as Americans, have more in common than we do our differences. I don't know. I'm not a philosopher. I do try to call myself a pseudo-historian, and history does tell us that the pendulum swings. Let's go ahead and take a break. We come back, continue to clear the board. Hopefully, in the back half of the hour, as we wrap this thing up, I'll get to the Susie Wiles story. It's a great story. She sat down, for reasons I won't understand, and spoke with Vanity Fair and said that the president has a, quote, alcoholic's personality. And you know what she's basing that on? She's basing that on one of the greatest sports announcers in the history of sports announcing. As I've talked about, the chief of staff of the president, Susie Wiles' father, was Pat Summerall, a field goal kicker for the New York Giants, who played with Frank Gifford and Y.A. Tittle and the old New York football Giants. Pretty good field goal kicker. And then he became who could I compare him to? Who's the best sports announcer right now?
Ooh. Former player announcer?
He became the Vin Scully of sports announcing.
That's fair.
He did football with Mr. Madden, and they were the most lovable team perhaps ever. He did U.S. Open tennis. He did golf on CBS, but he was a raging alcoholic. I'll tell you my Pat Summerall story that I've told many, many times, but that's what she's basing it on. Having grown up with an alcoholic, much to Summerall's credit, before he died, I think he married late, and his last wife got him cleaned up. He got into religion. I remember seeing the video of him getting baptized, and he stopped drinking. But that's who she's basing that on. And she said some other things about J.D. Vance, who was once a very harsh critic of Donald Trump. We'll get into all of that before we get out of here. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on a Tuesday, right here on News Talk 96.1, AM 1180, KERN, and we stream live at kernradio.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Coming up on the Wednesday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, we'll continue to look at the Brown University shooting. What is the situation with that investigation? And also the aftermath of the Bondi Beach terrorist attack in Australia. Plus, President Trump honing in on the economy as the year comes to a close. What is the plan for affordability in 2026 looking like? We'll talk about it on Clay and Buck.
Live 9 to noon. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Meet Paul Sheldon's client, Norma Diaz, owner of La Rosa Fruit Bars and Ice Cream.
Hi, I'm Norma Diaz from La Rosa Fruit Bars and Ice Cream, and I'm a client and friend of Paul Sheldon. I've known Paul for many, many years, and my parents happened to be his first clients. So, of course, I called Paul and immediately felt this peace come over me, knowing that I didn't have to freak out about making a big decision. His knowledge about Medicare and your health insurance needs are beyond compare, and I was taken care of immediately by his wonderful staff. He knew everything that I needed and what I wouldn't need, so I was pretty much in and out of there in record time. If you're getting to that age or you're going to be needing to know about Medicare, then he's the one to call. He will totally help you out and get you pointed in the right direction. You're going to leave there feeling a great accomplishment and no concerns. And even if you have questions later, his staff can help you out. Those feelings are just priceless to me. So call Paul. You'll be glad you did.
When Medicare matters, our team has the answers. Team Paul Sheldon.
398-2298.
This is your intrepid news reporter, Scoop Newsman, coming to you live from a helicopter high above the historic Santa Margarita Ranch. From this brave reporter's lofty vantage point, I can see preparations are continuing for the return of the Jingle Bell Express that will whisk passengers to Santa's Village. Reports are that the historic Jingle Bell Express will be pulling amongst their cadre of rolling stock, genuine original Disney train cars. Once you arrive, kids and adults will be entertained like never before, with a mystic magic show, a charming Christmas market, adorable pony rides, and more food, fun, and frivolity than ever. The Jingle Bell Express will be arriving at the historic Santa Margarita Ranch November 28th and running until December 21st. But get your tickets now. This reporter also has a source deep inside Santa's Village that has confirmed that if your plans change, your tickets can change too, from now until November. So make sure you reserve your seats on the Jingle Bell Express by going to christmas@themargarita.com before the Christmas train passes you by.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
250 years ago, a promise was made to connect families and friends near and far. And during the holidays, that promise is more important than ever. That's why USPS is building a better network to meet your needs with timely deliveries, easy and affordable ways to ship, and everything you need to make your season full of holiday cheer. Our purpose is delivering your peace of mind, knowing your love will arrive, bringing joy to all. The United States Postal Service. Learn more at USPS.com/holidays.
I'm JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Lovely song. Young Rudolph. Santa's gotta make it to town. Way down. Well, I got 5 likes on my comment. That's encouraging.
I think there are a good amount of people that feel the same way you do. It's just it's not something we need right now in this country.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. 842-5376, 842-KERN. What else you got?
You're right on this one, Ralph. Human decency. You don't have to be a fan of Rob Reiner to understand the tragedy of his loss.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Rob Reiner's. Never liked Rob Reiner. Didn't think he was going to be a successful producer or director. And then he started kicking out these movies. But I've never liked his political stance, even when I was a liberal Democrat. I thought he was over the top. What was he in favor of when I was a liberal Democrat? He was involved with something because he was still with Penny Marshall at the time. And they were big, big proponents of, I can't remember what it was, but I remember disagreeing with him when I was a kid, when I was a liberal Democrat. Not a fan. Fan of his work. And for Trump to even insinuate that the guy wasn't talented is just dumb.
Yeah, was a failed artist.
Yeah.
$200 million was his net worth.
Yeah.
That's a failed artist.
And I mean, can you name a bad movie that he made?
Not one.
You really can't.
I can't name a bad part he played.
Did he act that much? I don't remember him
I've seen
acting
him in
that
a few
much.
different things. It wasn't anything like major, but he would always pop his head here and there, especially in the stuff that he produced and or directed.
Well, what I want to watch that I've never seen is the movie that he did with Nick.
Yes.
That is based loosely on their relationship.
Right.
And I've seen the interview. Did we play that at all?
Chasing Charlie or whatever.
Yeah.
No,
Being Charlie or something like that. Being Charlie, I think is what it was
something
called.
like that.
We'll play that tomorrow. I'll send that to you. The
I
interview-
have it. I have it.
The interview that the two of them did?
Yeah.
Do we have time? We got 3 minutes. Let's hear it. How long is it?
$1:15. We got about 2 minutes.
Go ahead.
Times you know, the parent is, your main job is to keep your child safe. So I would do anything.
We didn't bond a lot as a kid. Like, he really liked baseball. I like basketball, and he could watch that with my brother, but baseball. But I just, when I saw him do that, and it was something that I'm interested in, I was like, wow, like, he really knows a lot. And like, it made me feel closer to him and be like, yeah.
Like, wow, my dad's Rob Reiner.
I never had thought about it. And then,
Yeah. It didn't cross your mind, right?
Never.
Never watched A Few Good Men. Didn't see that one.
No.
What was the most difficult part about working together for the two of you?
It wasn't very tough. I mean, it was a pretty nice experience for me. I don't really think it was like tough at all.
Really?
I mean, of course it was a little bit, but
I mean, we did get into fights over things, but ultimately it forced us to make the film better. I mean, we get into issues, and I would see, the whole process for me, I can just speak for myself, it did make me understand him a lot more, and I think it made me a better father. Hopefully it did.
I think the bonding came not from the story itself, but from the fact that we were working on a movie together.
One of the important things that you heard him say is, we didn't bond together when I was a kid. That's so sad. And I'll tell you something, as I've said, I went to 2 private schools, the Buckley School in Sherman Oaks and the Brentwood School off of Sunset Boulevard in Brentwood. And it is common for these Nepo babies to resent their parents, because if you're in the movie business and you do a movie, you're gone for like 7 months. 6-7 months. Quick timeout, final half hour of the broadcast.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump says he's ordering a blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers into Venezuela, ramping up pressure on the country's authoritarian leader Nicolas Maduro. The move comes after U.S. forces last week seized an oil tanker off Venezuela's coast an unusual move that followed a buildup of military forces in the region. The Trump administration has announced an expansion of travel restrictions to include 20 more countries. This move doubles the number of nations affected by previous limits on travel and immigration to the U.S. The administration cites national security concerns, including the arrest of an Afghan national suspect, as reasons for the expansion. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 302 points. More details at srnnews.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
15 theft incidents at a Lowe's in Northeast Bakersfield has police looking for a serial thief, and they believe they got the guy. No Del Campo is accused of taking items totaling $2,700 and is charged with suspicion of grand theft, retail theft, and shoplifting. In McFarland, a new police chief has been chosen by the city council. Monday, they picked Adrian Olmos, who has been the interim chief for the past few months. The council reasoned that he has 23 years' experience and is familiar with the officers and the community. The Bakersfield Polar Bear Plunge at the McMurtry Aquatic Center is New Year's Day. You're invited to plunge into the icy water and swim 25 yards, and the reward at the end is a nice cup of hot chocolate. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
It's what we were taught, trained, and told to do.
It could be for anything. Helping a friend move.
Listening to a fellow veteran for hours, at any hour of the day.
Or just simply making time for people. A neighbor, a loved one, or even a stranger.
We're often the first to help others. There's no question about it.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
Perhaps it's time to do for yourself what you would do for others.
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Wednesday's Armstrong and Getty Show, we continue to raise money for the Scouts, and that shooting at Brown University, was the killer targeting a conservative leader?
And you remember Zoran Mondami? How weird is this? His transition team are intentionally misspelling their own names and documents so you can't research them and figure out who they are and what they really believe. The next Armstrong and Getty Show.
Weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. The Charlie Kirk Show. Weekdays at 6 p.m. on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show.
Run, run, reindeer. Run, run, reindeer. Oh, run, run, reindeer. Run, run, reindeer.
I used to know the words to this. I have no clue. Let's get back to the board. We got to clear this, and then we're going to celebrate Bill Gillespie's birthday before we get out of here. It is the anniversary of the Battle of the Bulge, and we've got some audio we want to play. We celebrated Bill's 100th birthday right here in this studio. I'll post that on Facebook tonight, the picture that we all took, and then we'll play the audio. He is in France celebrating not only the Battle of the Bulge, but his 102nd birthday in a pub in Bastogne. I believe that's France. I'm pretty sure. But we'll play that audio before we get out of here. I got to do that. In the meantime, what do you got?
To answer how Nick can afford the lawyer, he has a net worth of about $3 million, and Rob Reiner had a net worth of around $200 million. I don't think he's going to need or to have a problem paying.
Well, Alan Jackson is going to drain that $3 million. What do you think these guys cost? A phone call costs about a G, literally. You know, what do you think his retainer is? They're a local return. They're like, what do you think Salah's retainer is? I'd be willing to bet, because I know for a fact, based off of a friend whose kids got into some trouble.
I'd say 30.
And they went to another attorney who is not on the level of H.A. Salah, and his retainer, meaning here's money just to come into your office, was 10 grand.
Whew.
10 grand. So what do you think H.A.'s is? You're right.
Around
it's probably around 20, or if not 25, 30. That's just the retainer. So if he's got $3 million, you're right, he can afford Jackson, but he's going to be broke when he's done. Tell you that. And why? I don't know. Again, I said Jackson has the well-earned reputation of winning unwinnable cases, but I don't see how you win this case. I don't care if Clarence Darrow comes out of the grave. I don't care if Abraham Lincoln is representing you. I don't know how, because remember, as we talked about at the top of the show, we know a little bit more from the DA's press conference today, where we now know that Nick Reiner went and checked into the Pierside Santa Monica Hotel after the murder, and that the maids reported that the room was destroyed, that there was blood in the shower, there was blood in the sheets, there was blood all over the hotel room. And again, from there, he went down to the ghetto, I think, to score some smack. What else is a Brentwood kid doing on the other side of the 405? You know what I'm saying? What else you got?
The LA Times said Nick had a very serious meth addiction.
Meth? Is that what it was? Sounds about right. Methamphetamine, right? Yeah, it sounds about right. Erratic behavior, inability to get off of it. That is one of the most insidious diseases, or one of the most insidious drugs on the books. It really is. And then you're 40 years old. You look like you're 60. You've lost your teeth. I mean, I'm sure he can afford, with $3 million, to go get the best implants in Brentwood, but that's a hard life, man. That's a hard life. I wouldn't wish a meth addiction on anybody, on my worst enemy. I really wouldn't. What else?
I support you 100%, Ralph. You're awesome. That's exactly how I feel. This isn't the time or place to say something like that, and the caller will get his karma.
Yeah, the guy that said that he got his just desserts. That's worse than what Trump said. That's evil. Justifying somebody's homicide? You're clearly an atheist, and if you're not, guess what? It's me, St. Peter. No. I heard that comment on the Ralph Bailey show. You ain't getting in these gates.
And that's your just desserts.
Yeah. Karma is a bitch. What else?
Ralph, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe to try a capital murder case with the death penalty, it cost a county over $1 million.
Yeah, it does. And why? Why? So we can get in a line of like 650 men. Remember, I told you I did when I was writing a column, the Californian, after they fired me in the 90s, hired me back in the 21st century to write a column. I did it for about 2 years. And I wrote a column. There was a case down in, I think it was in Orange County, where a skinhead asked to be on death row, as opposed to just life in prison. He wanted to die. And that began speculation that death row inmates who get perks that other inmates don't get. They have complete access to a phone at any time so as to be able to discuss their attorney. Because I don't know if you know this, but in the state of California, if I get sentenced to death tomorrow, I have automatic appeals. So you have to have access in prison to your attorney. So you have access to the phones, you have access to the law library that no other inmates in San Quentin or wherever you are have access to. You have meeting times because you've got to sit down for your mandatory appeal with your attorney that nobody else gets. And there was this feeling, and I wrote the story based on Vincent Brothers. I called up to San Quentin and I talked to the sergeant in charge of guarding Vincent Brothers, the man who killed his family, literally, killed his estranged wife, his mother-in-law, and I can't remember how many kids he had. I think he had 3 or 4 kids, including a 6-month-old, who this educator, an assistant principal in our community, and for all people that you would talk to, a lovable man, put a gun to a 6-month-old's forehead and blew his head off. Just a guy, I mean, you talk about karma, you talk about special levels of hell. And again, I hope Dante was right. But, and I walked, the column was basically walking through his life being on death row. And then he gets to shower once a week. He's shackled while he showers. I think he gets 20 minutes a day exercise. I remember the line I used was, he gets 20 minutes in the yard with his fellow psychopaths, something like that. So yeah, there is a preferred life, to be honest with you, as a death row inmate, which makes no sense because again, we're never going to get to these guys. There's a line 600 deep. You go to Texas, hell, they got a diamond lane for the death penalty. Let's go, keep it going, but not here in liberal California. Couple more, and then we got to cut it off.
I believe we are already in a civil war, not the kind with armies and tanks and planes, but people are already relocating to their side of this war. This civil war will be differently fought with assassins, terrorist type attacks, and horrible words that incite others.
Well, good God Almighty. Talk about a black thought. Let's all pray you're wrong. That's the only way I'll answer that. I doubt that will come about. And let's all pray that you're wrong. I think the vitriol is going to get worse. I think we're going to go through a period maybe for the next 3 years where it's going to get pretty ugly. But to be blunt with you, and this won't be popular, but I think once Mr. Trump rides off into the sunset, and not that he will, I don't believe that. I think he's going to try to keep his hand in politics in 2029 and 2030 and 2031. But I think that a J.D. Vance or a Marco Rubio will bring a different type of decorum to the presidency. I can only hope. I got to cut you guys off. We'll try to maybe get some of them tomorrow. I don't know. You don't hold them over, do you?
No, not really. But I mean, some of these are all pretty much the same. Some are saying you're wrong. Some are saying you're right. So.
Yeah. Because I got to get to the Susie Wiles story. And I got to wish Bill Glaspie a happy birthday and talk about the Battle of the Bulge. In fact, do we have, I'll check at the break. We might even have the CD on the Battle of the Bulge. If we have, because we still have one of the CDs, don't we? From We Interrupt This Broadcast?
I have no idea if that CD is even in there, to be honest
Is the
with you.
book there? We don't even have the book. I'll come take a look. Let's go ahead and take our final break of the night. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on a Tuesday. Tomorrow's a Wednesday. Howard Marcus will chime in. We'll get his thoughts on decorum and decency, and that is a good question. Are we headed toward a civil war? Maybe not in the sense of one region against another and a shooting war, but are we getting so divided? I know families this Christmas that aren't spending it together because they disagree politically. I really do. I know two families, two of my friends aren't going to see their parents because their parents are Trump supporters and they're liberal Democrats. Two kids that I grew up with. Final timeout. Keep it locked. The Charlie Kirk Show at the top of the hour. In the meantime, you're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN, where we're streaming live at kernradio.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. It's the JR Show.
So it looks like Prop 50 is going to pass. That's fine. I respect the process. I might not agree with the outcome, but I at least respect the process. The problem is Democrats still have to win elections next year. They couldn't flip Valadeo's seat, and that district has been Democrat for a long time. So this isn't over. They might have won Prop 50, but they still need voter turnout, which is a problem for them, and they still need to win congressional races.
The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m.
Attention, Medicare beneficiaries here in Kern County. If you are eligible for Medicare and looking for a doctor who listens and cares about you with minimal wait times and prompt referral authorizations, it's time you learned about QualCare IPA. QualCare IPA contracts with most Medicare Advantage health plans and provides you with access to a large network of outstanding doctors and quality hospitals right here in Kern County. Medicare Advantage health plans go beyond original Medicare benefits coverage, and understanding these coverage differences may be confusing. Call us today at 6.
Want to bust these out real quick?
Yeah. Let me think about this. Got to pick my words carefully. Three, two. All I'm saying is, I don't know how you were raised, but I was raised not to speak ill of the dead. I wasn't a fan of Rob Reiner's. And yes, he aggressively went after the president and he pushed the whole Russia hoax. In fact, he paid for an investigation into the president. But that's no reason to denigrate a man who's had his throat cut in his own home by his troubled son. It's called common decency. 3, 2. It's that man again. Look what's coming up on the Wednesday TRBS. It's Wednesday, so our former federal agent Howard Marcus will join us. We'll ask the question posed from Tuesday's show: are we headed for a civil war? Maybe not a regional shootout, but are we that divided? All that and me. It's the Ralph Bailey Show, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. I'll see you at 3.
Card debt. You can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-399-7272. 800-399-7272. Again, that's 800-399-7272.
Ready? Go.
Okay, doctor.
Operation.
No,
Hurry, time's almost up.
okay. The most amazing care. Oh, Betty.
Oh, I know. China. Time's up. Okay, our turn. Ready? Go. They changed my life. Kindness Hospital for Children. Because people just like you, kids like me, can play in the game of life. I can do things now that were impossible before. I can draw.
I can play basketball.
Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you.
Go to loveshrines.org right away. Thank you.
The Armstrong and Getty Show, weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Now,
What
No,
they
I'm
sing?
sorry. This is the instrumental
This is the
version.
instrumental. All right, we got to play the one that sings tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
This is great. I love
Oh,
that.
Tannenbaum.
Yeah. No, they sing this one.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You're right. You're
They
right.
sing
You're
on
right,
this
you're right.
one. Yeah, that's a great song. Thanks to Lily Marsh, I was tightened up that today was the Battle of the Bulge. We'll talk about it more tomorrow. It went on from this day, December 16th, all the way through January. It was one of the most pivotal battles in the war. It was the largest and bloodiest single battle fought by the United States in World War II. There's a great film that depicts it very, very accurately. That's why I like it, starring Robert Shaw. Robert Shaw plays the Nazi leader that almost made the Battle of the Bulge successful for the Nazis. Henry Fonda is in it. Charles Grodin.
Charles Xavier.
Charles Schultz.
Ooh.
Peanuts. Like that. Mm-hmm.
Charlie Sheen. Can I go that way?
I'll give you that. Anyway, I forgot what I was talking about. Charles, I can't remember now, but Charles
Daly?
No, the guy that played the tough guy all the time. Charlie Bronson. Charlie Bronson's in the film.
Charles Bronson, yeah.
Yeah. And it's a great picture. And it really depicts how close we came to losing the battle and why it was so important. But our good friend Bill Gillespie, who celebrated his centennial in this studio, and again, I'll post that tonight on Facebook. He is in Bastogne commemorating not only his 102nd birthday, but the Battle of the Bulge.
Happy birthday, dear Bill. Happy birthday to you.
Love you. Love you.
Love you.
I wish you guys could see the video. I can post that, can I? I can post that.
You should be able
I'm
to
sure
reshare it,
Lily. I'm sure Lily has as well, but I'll post it on my Facebook as well. And Lily also reminds me what we talked about yesterday, that Carl Reiner's dad was part of Honor Flight 2015. He was in Ventura Vet's home, which is in the area, and we gobble up some folks that don't have Honor Flight in their area. We've taken people as far as Fresno, as a matter of fact. But Bill's a great guy. I remember that day in here. It was a fun afternoon. 842-5376, 842-KERN. God dang it. I don't have time to get to the Susie Wiles thing. I really don't. I don't want to half-ass it. We'll get to it tomorrow. We got a lot of time tomorrow. But she went and spoke with Vanity Fair and said some very controversial things about the cabinet, about the president. But again, I don't think I have enough time to get into it as the way I'd want to. So we'll talk about it tomorrow. So let's go ahead and read a couple text messages and get the Sam Hill out of here.
This first one just simply says, Ralph, you're wrong. You're on the wrong side of this one.
On the wrong side of decency?
I would assume so.
So we should speak ill of Rob Reiner, a dead man? Well, morally, I know I'm not. As a Christian, I know I'm not. You may disagree with me, but I think God would side with me on this one. I'm pretty sure. At least that's my Catholic teaching. And that's how I was raised. That's all I can tell you. That's how I was raised. That's how I bring these beliefs. Ralph and Harriet planted these beliefs in me, that you don't speak ill of the dead. You ain't got nothing good to say about somebody who's died, just don't say anything. Particularly if you represent somebody. And I represent my family. Everything I espouse, it represents Ralph and Harriet. And I try, much to my fault, to represent them well. I don't live up to it often. I've embarrassed my family on several occasions, but I'm pretty sure I'm on the right side on this one. I'm willing to take that to my grave. What else you got?
Summerall wasn't in Scully's league. Vince is on a Mount Rushmore of journalists. Summerall is in the league of maybe a Mike Tirico or a Jim Nance.
I don't know how old you are, but at the time, Pat Summerall was the man. I mean, like I said, he did football, and is there a better football group than John Madden? In fact, it's funny you should say that, because Vin was doing football and wanted to do football. He was teamed. There were two teams that CBS was grooming. It was Vin and Hank Stram, the Kansas City Chiefs head coach, who got the Chiefs their first Super Bowl. They lost the first Super Bowl to Hank Stram's Chiefs. And then he came back and won, oh, my memory's horrible, Super Bowl V, where they beat the Minnesota Vikings. And Hank Stram was a legendary coach. So that was the one team. The other new team, this is in the early 80s, was Summerall and Madden. And the season was coming to a close, and they gave Vinny and Hank Stram the Niners-Dallas game, and they gave Madden and Summerall what at the time was thought to be the bigger game. Because at that point, Montana wasn't Montana. In fact, it was that Dallas game that made Montana, Montana, because that's the game where Dwight Clark makes the catch at the back of the end zone and began the 49er dynasty. But Vin wanted to be the number one team, and CBS made it clear to him that they were not going to be the number one team. It was going to be Madden and Summerall. And Vin said, I'm out, and didn't do football after that. He would go on to do, he went to NBC, if you remember, and did golf with Lee Trevino, which I thought was the greatest golf pairing ever. I'm not saying that Pat Summerall was better than Vin. If you're a loyal listener, you've heard my Mount Rushmore of broadcasters: Vincent Edward Scully, Howard Cosell, Johnny Carson, and Ralph Bailey. No, I can't remember who my fourth is, but it wasn't Pat Summerall. But I can make a pretty damn good argument that Pat in the 80s and the 90s was one of the elite. If he's not up there with Vin, he's pretty damn close. And his daughter became the chief of staff to the president of the United States. Isn't that something? Teresa Golden will be back with us next Tuesday. I want to thank you all for all your comments, and hopefully we can agree to disagree and go home respecting one another. Thank you for joining us. Tomorrow's a Wednesday. Howard Marcus will be with us. In the meantime, for Chris Burdick, I'm Ralph Bailey. That's what's really going on. We'll wrap to you tomorrow.
This is AM 1180 KERN Green Acres. This is 96.1 FM Bakersfield. Online at KERNradio.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump's chief of staff is pushing back on a Vanity Fair story that includes many blunt quotes. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles is blasting a Vanity Fair piece that featured months of interviews about the second Trump presidency. Writing on social media, she called the profile a disingenuously framed hit piece on her and a Trump staff and cabinet she describes as the finest in history. Wiles did not deny any specific quotations attributed to her, including saying she was aghast at Elon Musk's dismantling of USAID and that President Trump has an alcoholic's personality, even though he doesn't drink. Greg Clugston,